Good afternoon, esteemed panelists, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. I, Arindam Ghosh, on behalf of Schoolnet India Limited, welcome you all to this third episode of Big Questions, an intimate dialogue on education. Needless to say that this pandemic has transformed education, the centuries-old chalk and talk teaching model, to one driven by technology. Children have ceased to be physical entities and have been transformed into black tiles on a Zoom screen. Teachers are now faced with an altogether new challenge: how to keep the learner engaged and motivated, how to ensure that meaningful learning continues to happen in an online environment, what new instructional methods and practices need to be adopted so that a teacher can engage and challenge more of her students in a way that's manageable. The teacher can reach each student currently holed up in their homes. She can facilitate student agency in a blended environment and yet achieve learning outcomes effectively. These are some of the challenges that the teachers are facing. Parents too discovered that they are in the midst of the learning process of their child as classrooms transcended the boundaries of schools and entered their homes, making way for productive partnerships and of course, parental intervention. But mind you, there's always a thin line between intervention and interference. And during the last 1 year, we have seen that getting blurred a couple of times. Several innovations took place during the last 1 year. New models have emerged, new methods have been piloted, but there are still a few unanswered questions. Is it a short-term disruption? Will it be possible to get back to the old ways of schooling? Will it change the way schooling and learning happens forever? Or is blended learning going to be the way forward? How can institutions ensure equitable access to learning for all of its students? Do teachers need to adopt new pedagogy tools and methods to actually teach students in this crisis? These are some of the big questions staring at our face. Unfortunately, unprecedented crisis has no available template of best practices that may work and guide us in this new landscape. But definitely all of us would agree that it offers us an opportunity to create the next practice. And it is with this objective that we at Schoolnet initiated this series of webinars 3 months ago as a platform to share ideas, learn from each other, build a community of practice, and work together on the mission of empowering every learner achieve her potential. At the end of the day, learning never stops, and teachers play an extremely important role in making learning happen. And that's what we believe in Schoolnet, and that's what we've been believing for the last 20 years. So with this background, I would request my colleague Shovi, the Chief Digital Officer at Schoolnet India, to briefly explain about our mission and our work at Schoolnet, how we intend to achieve the same, before opening up the session for today's topic. Over to you, Shovi.
Thanks, Arindam. I mean, a little bit of background about Schoolnet. As Arindam was saying, our journey started almost 2.5 decades ago. And as he was saying, that in our program design, we always believed in teacher centricity. And that's how we kept engaging with schools and our teachers to improve classroom transactional processes using the adoption of technology. And when we started, it was 1997. We again didn't have a template, at least for our country in India, not too much of a reference point or markers. So with the experiential and constructivist approach towards developing a teacher training program at the center of our intervention, we started our journey. And as we progressed along, we listened to the teachers, we handholded the teachers, we learned a lot from them, and we tried to solve the problem of the teachers in the classroom, whether it is designing the first set of multisensory digital content which can be used by the teachers in their classroom for engagement, or as we moved along, we experienced that there are no reliable purpose-built teaching device which a teacher can use in the classroom to enhance engagement. That's how we collaborated with IIT Mumbai and came up with a teaching device, Kian, which powers almost 75,000 classrooms in our country today. And 3 years back, before COVID, we started building a digital learning platform to connect the in-school activities with after-school learning of students. It's called Genio, which got accelerated in last 18 months or so. We are engaging with about 500 schools in a controlled pilot to see how we can make this platform a kind of efficient teaching machine for the teachers and also a reliable adaptive learning platform for students in a connected manner while we connect the in-school activities with after-school learning. So this has been our journey for about 25 years or so. And now I would request Mr. Vagish Jha, our lead academics and head of teacher development, to tell us a little bit more about the topic for today's discussion and take this discussion forward. Over to you, Vagish. You need to unmute.
Thank you, Shauri, and welcome to all our esteemed panelists. We have already put up the topic of the day, but let me elaborate a few points about this. So we all know that 2 years ago, when one tiny microorganism pushed the entire humanity into quarantine and schools got locked down all over the world, there was an unprecedented gloom and uncertainty that descended. And within that kind of a gloom, teachers rose in front of the camera. They started doing what they knew the best to do, that is in a face-to-face situation. They found it baffling to talk to the lifeless screen. Soon, those with magical ability to connect with students in the classroom felt lost in the cyber world like a disenchanted magician. You cannot give a gun to an expert archer to prove her skill, can you? That is what happened with teachers. They are still struggling to find right technology, digital tools and applications, as newer ones are mushrooming every day. The crisis, in short, has led to some elements of teaching being changed permanently. Teachers are trying to figure out the future of their children. In a new world is awaiting us. It requires a different kind of competencies and abilities. In finding solution to these challenges, we see glimpses of future of learning that needs to be reimagined. And teachers are entrusted to shape the destiny of India in her classroom, said the visionary academician D.S. Kothari, the chairman of First National Education Commission of India. Today, the new situations are calling to shape the destiny of these teachers. New education policy places different demands and expectations from teachers. It aims at setting up a national professional standard for teachers for curriculum development, pedagogy, and evaluation framework. 2 days ago, the performance grade index has been released, and it flags the need for a rigorous, robust in-service teachers training and school principals leadership programs. Thus, teaching as a profession, apart from becoming reflective and introspective, needs to be reimagined in many other parameters. While attention and engagement and interaction remains the holy grails of effective teaching, whether online or offline. We hope that experts today will shed light on some of the aspects for us to reimagine collectively a new kind of teachers that we need in the post-pandemic world. Welcome to this webinar. And now I request my expert panel of experts to introduce themselves. And while they introduce themselves, kindly flag one core concern that you think we should be concerned about, you are concerned about. Over to you, panelists.
Okay. May I?
Yes.
Yes. Namaste to all our panelists and viewers. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm privileged to be part of this panel discussion. I'm Mrs. Jyotikumar, Director of Education of AVM Group of Schools in Mumbai. We have 3 ICC schools and 2 institutes that run the ECE and special education courses. My career teaching and managing schools span over 34 years in various roles. First as a teacher, then as a secondary supervisor, and the principal of AVM Bandra West for almost 20 years. Now, the first question would asked is the core concern that I have, okay, or we all have. I mean, today's children have so much of information and so much of technology on their fingertips that they are extremely well informed on many diverse happenings across the world. So let us accept that children adopt to this evolution much better and faster than the do teachers. This means that there is a great need to keep teachers to speed up in the race for technology and access to information. So I always believe that teachers need to be transformers. And what they have to do is to learn continuously and evolve and raise the bar with the rapidly advancing field of education and technology. So this is one of my concerns that I just spoke about. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti ma'am. Ajinkya, can we go on to you?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me on this panel. It's my pleasure to be here. I am Ajinkya Ambarkhane, working as a director for Mega Group of Schools. I have a total experience of 11 years and half of it from corporate world. We have 21 schools with 20,000 students, and I am responsible for bringing new practices, new initiatives within the classroom and identify trainings and execute them for teachers. One core concern, that's always there, be it online school or routine school, is the way students are changing, the way culture is changing, and the way behavioral patterns are changing. How we can ensure at every level that the individual touch points stay established between students and teacher. That's very important. I have a son who is in class 2, and I cannot recall a single day when we ask them that, tell me how was your day. So he always explains what dialogue he had with his teacher. He never explains what was taught. His priority was what interaction he had with his teacher. So maybe coming out of personal experience and looking around, the core concern that's with me, that's with us, is how we can ensure that individual touch points stay established throughout the years. Thank you.
Okay. So namaskar. Thank you to Schoolnet for having me on this panel discussion. It's going to be an interesting one. I can already see that. So I am Sudha Mahajan, and I have been in the field of education for about 25 years. And like Jyoti ma'am, also risen from being a teacher and going up, right, doing all kinds of jobs that are required at a school, and then reaching the top position. Headed a couple of schools and also worked in the corporates and created some programs for teachers. And now I am freelancing and have my own setup called the Sana Education Solutions. And I work with that and try and do whatever little I can. So with that, the major concern for me are, of course, the two concerns mentioned by the two panelists. But other than that, it is a very, very important thing that now when teachers come back to the class, and what Sir just mentioned just now, that are we going to be ready to listen to our students? It is very, very important. They've had a terrible, terrible time. They've had a time they didn't understand. They didn't know why their parents are worried. They've been watching all the news along with their parents. They don't know why this has happened and what is happening. And especially little children, they don't understand it. So for the teachers, we will have to train them to be ready to listen before they get ready to teach, is my major concern.
Yeah. True.
Thank you.
Very, very interesting observation, Sudha ji, Mr. Ajinkya, Jyoti ma'am. I mean, very distinct, very unique, and at the same time, there is a commonality. Today, as discussion revolves largely around that we have got a unique opportunity to reimagine education and the role and what kind of teachers do we need. So what we will do is we'll get to our first round of questions, which deals with this topic of learnings from the pandemic. So may I now request Arindam, if you can have an opening question, we can take it from there.
Sorry. So there's this challenge of muting and unmuting. Yeah,
Don't mute yourself.
Yeah, 1 year of practice is still not is still not enough. So the first question is, as Shauri pointed out, that what has been the learning during this pandemic. So in relation to this question, I would like to ask Jyoti ma'am that what do you think that when the pandemic broke out and the lockdown happened and learning suddenly transcended from classroom to a digital mode, what do you think the teachers were able to do during this emergency situation? What new models or tools they would have adopted for learning continuity?
Okay. Now I'm going to speak on this topic based on my experience.
Right.
The first and foremost requirement when the pandemic hit was adaptability to change, and openness of teachers to continuously evolve and learn. And that was very, very important. And our priority was to start online classes on time, because we didn't have much time, because our academic year begins in April and March. We had already there, and the lockdown happened. But our preparations, well, I would say, began even before the pandemic and lockdown came up. Because way back in 2018, we had established a core IT team. And they were spending almost an hour every day for the last 3 years on a program that we call QET, or Quality Enrichment Time. Now, this is one hour of rigorous training for our teachers that we undertook 3 years ago. And then we introduced a program called Tech-Aided Learning, or we call it TAL, into this component of QET. So that became a very important module for all our teachers. So we were fortunate to train our teachers in technology almost 3 years back, because we were very clear that we wanted to bring technology to learning. And you can say fortunately or unfortunately, well, we had to, undergo this phase of complete closure. And then we decided, okay, now it's time to take the next step. And we decided to go online. And for that, we had a week's orientation. All our teachers were trained for almost 2 hours a day in getting used to this online technology. See, LMS was already an experience that they had inculcated, but we wanted them to get used to the online tools. So we laid out a complete program for them, right from the schedules and also sharing the online tools that would be useful in their learning platforms. But more importantly, we continued to give that hands-on experience to them. We were there to train them, because initially there was reluctance. It's very natural. But the IT team was very, very supportive, comforted them, and they were able to adopt to this new normal seamlessly. And today, if I have to say, we are all using almost 25 online tools for the various classes and subjects that we provide as an experience for our students. And I know Mr. Vagesh also knows, Mr. Shauri also knows, AVM management is very progressive. So they are visionaries. So obviously, when the vision was to bring in technology, we had already started the process. So I would say it was quite easy for us to bring about this change. And let me also tell you, we continue with this QET program even today. Almost 5 days a week, 1 hour. I'm talking to you now. There is a TAL session going on in the schools. So I think it is important when we provide opportunities, we are also being very futuristic. So that has helped us to, reduce the excitement and anxiety among the parents and students and teachers.
Right.
Could I share something, please?
Yeah, please.
Please.
Yeah. So what Jyoti ma'am shared, and which was fantastic. I mean, being already prepared, that's being an absolute visionary and knowing that such times can come in. But we were totally unprepared. I was the principal of a school, totally unprepared. No technology whatsoever, other than showing maybe once in a while some videos and getting children to work on the desktops once in a while is all that we had.
It
But
was your
here-
it was your Cambridge International School in Kulu.
Yes, in Kulu. And because in our interiors we did not have Wi-Fi, we did not have any connections. But when the schools were asked to close down, in just one day, we decided that we'll have to keep connected with the students. And unlike the people in the planes, we were into our new session. We were not having a session ending. The session was ending for our class 10 and 12. But for the others, we had already started the new session in February, mid of February. So we were already 1.5 months into a session. So therefore, we knew there was no time to waste. So we decided, okay, what does everybody have? It's WhatsApp. Let's get onto that. But then within a week, we realized it was not enough. And we had to move to a platform. And we moved on to Zoom and then further to Google Meet. But here, I would say that it was the teaching fraternity, the teachers who took up that challenge. And when one teacher learned something, she made sure, or he made sure, that the rest of the group also learned. So I think here, I mean, something that we always think that our teachers cannot change. A lot of time I hear people saying that, they cannot do certain things and we don't have a very good set of teachers. But I think given the right challenge and given the opportunity and the liberty, they can bring in miracles, which they did.
Sudha, you're right there, because it's all teachers, because they know that they're accountable.
Yeah.
They're responsible.
Yeah.
So they have walked the extra mile.
Yeah, exactly.
Create this learning platform and learning engagement for the students. I agree with you. And it is, like I said, in Bombay, being in Bombay, it's very different.
It's very different.
It's very different. Even today, they talk about the digital divide. Yes, it is still there.
Yes.
But we have to join the dots, isn't it?
Yes.
Otherwise, we should be progressive in our thought process.
Right.
Yeah, interesting perspectives from two panelists, one from Bombay and the other from Kulu, and one prepared 3 years in advance before the pandemic hit, and the other unprepared, but still how people rose to the occasion. And Ajinkyaji, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, in fact, what I would like to, or how I would like to place our schools in what Jyoti ma'am said and what Sudha ma'am said. So we were in golden middle. Why I say that is because, we were running an optional called Future Classroom for 7 of our schools out of 21.
Right.
And, it's easy to scale up something which already exists with you. So if online platforms exist with you, it's easy to scale up as compared to someone who doesn't have it at all. So,
Yeah.
and it's tough to be planful when your house is on fire.
Yes.
If I look back to the pandemic last year, teachers were exhausted. At the same time, they were also excited. They were exhausted because, resources were not enough, which could suffice their need. And at the same time, what excited them was, they knew that it's them. who can keep schools continuing, be it pandemic year or not. And you know what? Not our schools, Jyoti ma'am schools, Sudha ma'am schools, and I believe most of the schools, teachers played an excellent role, and they gave very, very important,
Yes.
strong message to kids and parents that we are there.
Yes.
It doesn't matter you come to school, it doesn't matter where you are stuck up in the lockdown. We will go online, we will collectively ensure that you learn.
Yes.
Right.
That also aided them to cut off from the negativity that was floating around.
Okay.
That was very important message, I believe almost the teachers put
They're
it.
called the frontline warriors today.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jyoti ma'am.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
It's very interesting, Ajinkya said about kind of in between exhaustion and excitement. That's a very, very, very interesting phase. My request to all the participants who are attending this discussion, if you have any question at any point in time, we will have a Q&A session. So please put in your questions in the chat box if you feel so. And coming back to you, Ajinkya, maybe see, a lot has been covered in this 18 months journey or so. The first time last year, now we are still continuing with that. And there's some phenomenal success stories of teachers. But objectively, if you look back, Ajinkya, as a practitioner, with your own insights and experience, what do you think are the emerging gap areas which we need to cover as we move forward in this area?
So, you know, I would answer this question in two steps. I would answer from the student's perspective first, and then from the teacher's perspective. So looking at last year, you know, when we were sure that we have to go online and there is no way around, we conducted a survey, and it was very shocking for us, considering the central where all our schools are located in Vidarbha and central India, that 90% of the kids were not having access to stable internet connection and a device that would be dedicated for online school. They will be using mother's phone or father's phone, but then if father went to office, they would not have anything, and that was 90% of our lot. So that was something you know, which was worrying us, because from school side we can do something for our teachers to get them prepared, but we wanted to talk to parents so that, you know, this 90% comes down to a acceptable chunk. So that was something, you know, from the students' perspective. And I can't imagine this pandemic if you would have come 10 years back, because devices were costly, internet was costly, and most of the online technology for teaching doesn't exist 10 years back, which we have ready access right now. So although it's unfortunate that it was there, but thank God it was not there 10 years back. You know, from teachers' perspective with online and maybe down the line also, the gap that I see very evidently, looking at last 1 year, and then we would be online still couple of months from this point also. Synchronous learning for the students is the biggest gap as far as our experience goes. I mean, students are missing on active experiences or learning opportunities. They answering randomly in a classroom or defending someone's answer, you know, debating with their peers. That's missing. And you know, there is another challenge is our teachers are subject experts. We wanted them to become technology experts overnight, but then though we want that to happen, at the same time that doesn't happen the way we want it. So, you know, helping teachers either by trainings or by counseling or by any means, giving them something which is ready to refer with, to translate their teaching expertise into completely different learning modality was a big gap last year, and to some extent it still exists. I mean, we have found out ways to engage kids by using quiz, poll, which we were not doing earlier. But then yes, that still remains a big gap.
Yeah, that's true, Ajinkya. What you said is absolutely true. You know, the digital divide has of course, in some you know, states of India and some rural areas, it's visible. But as far as emerging gaps are concerned, for me, I think I have gained a lot of confidence in terms of the teacher's perspective, because they have the ability now to adapt and adopt. You see, that even during a challenging situation, they were able to do that. And I'm sure they will continue to develop that skill even in future. But having said that, what emerging gap that I would like to share is the emotional connect with students in this online platform. Is, it's not only between teachers and students, but also peer-to-peer connect. See, that is missing. So I think we need to, bridge this gap here. Because what I believe is, even when we go on the offline mode, when the children come back to school, there is a gap in their social skills. So first, if we build or rather bridge this gap, then we can take the academic learning gap into consideration in a better manner. So I think the emotional bonding is very critical. So when we are in this online platform, perhaps using the Zoom platform or the breakout rooms or circle times, whatever platforms, we should encourage this emotional connect with teachers as well as the peers. And this will definitely help us pave the way for the post-lockdown period.
Yes.
And apart from the tech infrastructure, yes, that is an important software gap that we would need to address.
Jyoti ma'am, I would like to add on to what infrastructure gap you said. I mean, I'm sure everyone is conducting online trainings for teachers how to go smoothly, but still there is a big vacuum of trainings that requires to train the teachers so that they become technical experts of online teaching. Now, the reason why I'm saying so and why I insist so much is, even if we set up a call center or a support center, which will answer teachers' call if they face any problem in 15-20 minutes. I mean, school periods are 35-40 minutes. That period is lost. And if this happens frequently, the lesson spillover is so humongous that everybody would agree that our existing curriculum planning and the curriculum framework doesn't have facility to accommodate so much spillover. So we need to get our teachers ready enough that if they have something as a problem, they on their own are also enabled to solve it. So that is a gap, I'm sure everybody must be going through, maybe at a different multitude, but then we need to address. Yes.
Because teachers play an important role. So we'll have to take care of them and including their mental well-being as well.
Right.
Right. Yes.
So when we are talking about this gap, I think one of the greatest gaps that we need to cover up is being compassionate towards our teachers, because we in this online era have absolutely forgotten that they have a family. And a lot of the teachers are also getting stressed out because now they are not teaching one classroom at a time. They teach in 35 or 40 classrooms, depending on the number of students in their class, because they have all these parents watching them and seeing what is happening, especially for the junior and the middle school. Senior school, it doesn't happen, but for these, it happens. So we need to first bridge the liberty that the teacher would have to share her concerns, so that in turn she realizes how to share the concerns of the students and solve them. Because we expect our teachers to be compassionate, even I talked about it, but we are not giving them compassion. I think we need to bridge that and really give, as Ajinkya has said, that we need to give them a lot of training and a lot of support so that they are able to come up. Yeah.
Right.
Fantastic.
Mental well-being is so important, teachers. You're right.
This is excellent. Sudha, may I go on to the next question with you? Is
Yes.
that during the pandemic, there were many things that we discovered about learning. They may have been there existing in the research books, but it was not there in the practice. Now, the question is that what are the aspects of those emergency remote learning that you think will remain relevant even in the post-COVID times in future? Are there learnings from this time?
Yes, yes, definitely there are. And which we've just discussed just now, that one is obviously the socio-emotional connect, which is very, very important. We are talking a lot about it. Everybody is talking about it now. But when the classrooms start offline, we should not forget it, because there it's going to get graver now, because a lot of children have suffered in different ways. And also a lot of teachers have suffered. So we need to have that socio-emotional connect really needs to be there. Then we need to continue. Just now, Jyoti ma'am mentioned about breakaway rooms. So we have these breakaway rooms online. So we need to kind of continue with that, and also make sure that there is collaborative learning. And we, through our pedagogy, give enough of time to our children to, connect on a social emotional basis. And so that is something that you need to take up. Also, teachers have done a lot of, under compulsion, we've done blended learning. So that blended learning needs to just be there. And also we have, a lot of new pedagogies, new ways of teaching came up every day. I'm sure both Jyoti ma'am and Ajinkya sir would agree that every day we found the teachers using some kind of new technology, using a new pedagogy because of that. While in the normal classroom, we generally tend to resort to just a lecture or so I'm not saying everybody does it, but yeah, it does happen. So we'll have to be very conscious that that does not happen now. And we continue being as innovative and creative and as positive we were, so that we can build up the attitudes and skills and knowledge of the children. And I would take this platform to actually talk about TALL, the magazine that is brought out by Schoolnet. I think all our people who are participating, if they don't already know about it, it's, I wish there were more people like Schoolnet who would bring such things in, where for my sake, I would say that I learned a lot from it, because I would often, when I would be at a loss as to what new to bring in, I would get a copy of TALL and go through it, and there would be something interesting which we could bring in, and it would change everything. So I think we need to go more and learn more from our experts around, so that one can do. So that will have to continue. So I hope TALL will continue and keep going on and give
Sure, Sudha ma'am. Sure. Ajinkya had something to.
Yeah, in fact, I agree to Sudha ma'am that blended learning is here to stay. And in fact, pandemic forced us into experimentation with online school. Yeah. And which we started as short-term remedy as a response to this pandemic. But I'm sure now online school is here to stay with us, and it would act as a boon for us in terms of blended learning. Why I have this opinion is because, see, blended learning is not a new concept to us. Everybody who is on this panel and who would be watching us, they do understand what blended learning means. But somehow we were not finding tools and ways to adopt blended learning to its core. And things like online classes, accessing students even when they are home, being able to give them recorded live classes and recorded classes will help us float many new topics within the subject, will help us float many new courses, which can go maybe as a day boarding course for students. And there is no limitation on it. There can be artificial intelligence as recommended by CBSE, or robotics, or Google SketchUp. I mean, I can take names and it will go for hours, and there are so many opportunities with this. And now everyone is sure that if you want to go for blended learning, yes, this is the right tool to continue online, some part of it, and some part of it as it necessary to have within the school premises. So yes, online is going to stay with us. Yes. And I hope this pandemic doesn't.
Yes, thank you, Ajinkya. Thank you, Sudha. One more part which we could, think about is to bring in blended evaluation of students, which can be holistic. So, because now even with the NEP coming, they are also talking about progress cards should be holistic and not marks oriented. So I think with this blended learning, we'll also be devising a new format or new structure for evaluation. And I think with the CBSE results and the ICSE results, for the 10th and 12th, there's a lot of discussion on internal assessment. So I think I'm very happy to, I would say as a teacher or as a leader, I'm happy that the evaluation pattern will definitely change because of this online experience. So I think our focus also should be on assessments.
Well, that's an excellent point, Jyoti ma'am. I think along with blended learning, what Ajinka is saying is going to stay and being adopted and reinforced by NEP. Assessment and evaluation is something it definitely needs a relook. Excellent point, of course. So let us move on to our round 2 of the discussion. The topic, the focus is on pedagogy and professional development of teachers. So again, I would request Arindam, if you can have the opening question of this round as well.
Yeah, thank you, Shauri. And I would actually, since the point that Ajinkya made before just some time back on blended learning is going to stay here. Now, in a blended learning format, particularly in the current context, it is where students are learning in their homes and teachers are teaching from their homes. They do not have access to, in a classroom environment, the teachers would get to see how students behave. They take nonverbal cues and then accordingly sometimes modify their teaching practices. In an online world, in an online learning, what are the repercussions that you think would happen of equating online delivery with online learning? I mean to say, what pedagogical shifts must be adopted to serve the students' learning needs better, to engage more with the student, and to ensure that each child learns in this kind of an environment? Ajinkya.
Thank you, Arindam, for the question. So looking back to the entire year of online schooling, what I would say that when we were saying essentially that we were delivering school online, or we were saying that our students are learning online, we ensured that the content was delivered. Initially, we had nothing where we could, which we could use to ensure that even our students are learning from it. A feedback mechanism which exists in a classroom. At a glance, teacher can, scan 10 faces and pick one who is not comfortable or who has not understood just by facial expression. So, what we discussed earlier, individual touch points, individual interactions is what we were missing. A smile, on a walk down the hallway or a classroom aisle is what we are missing. Mm-hmm. So, pedagogy, students essentially use all their senses for learning, and it's our responsibility as an administration and school teachers that we make it very fun-filled and learning environment using technology. There are many tools which we explore down the line. As Sudha ma'am said that someone was finding something new every day. So there are many apps like MindMap, Whiteboard5, Jamboard, Star Spell or Brain Pop. I mean, I can go on. And these things and these tools, irrespective of online platform that you choose Zoom, you choose Google Classroom, you choose WebEx, you choose whatever you want. These tools are available, which we had used for our 20,000 plus kids. And based on my 1 year experience, I can testify that adopting them in the pedagogy would definitely yield good results. And it is very tempting to have entire focus on delivering the right content and sticking to the schedule, but it's equally important to get feedback from the students. And these tool helps. Running a quiz, running a poll, running a debate on a breakout room. These will ensure that the touch points which went missing because of pandemic are re-established. Maybe not as a visual signal, but as a digital signal using multiple aspects of technology.
Right. Jyoti ma'am, you were saying something.
No, with this 21st century skills coming in a big way, everybody's talking about the 21st century skills. And of course, the 4 C's are also part of this 21st century skills. And I liked 2 other dimensions to this 21st century skills, or the 4 C's. One was on character education and citizenship value. I think that would be also critical when we are talking about how we are going to, scaffold the learning needs of the children, So we need to bring in value systems also in place today, because somewhere our children are missing that. Because when you're in a physical environment, we have a moral science period, then there's a teacher talking, and it's a very different environment. There's always a connect. But today, the last 1 year and I would say 15 months, and when we reopen in a physical environment, we have to ensure that we bring in all these value systems in place. Other than the content or the syllabus and things like that. And I believe that there's a lot of work to do. It's not going to be easy, but like I said, we as teachers, as educators, as leaders, it becomes our responsibility to ensure that we bring in some holistic learning environment in the schools, and the children must be the future learners as well.
Right.
Right. Maybe let me ask a follow-up question to you, Jyoti ji.
Yes.
Because of your experience of implementing the QET initiative and tech-aided learning, when it comes to professional development of teachers, what are the key aspects that you think are going to be very important, considering that it is going to serve a new set of learners' needs?
Yes. See, the most important thing that I would say, or as a responsibility of a teacher, is to have this feeling that I want to do, and I want to do something different. If I'm a learner, then I am ready to adopt any kind of pedagogies that come our way. Now, as I said earlier, our teachers are spending 1 hour daily in upskilling and upgradation. So every day they have a TAL session, they have a personal enhancement program, it may be a professional development program. Along with that, they also have a recreational program. So we have yoga, we have art, we have music. So there's always a variety of programs that are shared with these teachers. So what happens, and at the same time, at AVM, we are also very particular about our teachers. In a way, we sort of call our teachers as part of our AVM family, starting from the management right to the teachers or the staff. So when we treat everybody as a family member, I'm sure the teachers themselves also feel indebted, they feel gratified, and they feel like serving the students and the society at large. And I think when we're looking at professional and personal development, because they invest 1 hour every day for this, the key aspects that I would like to include, other than what professional development would entail, I would talk about having a teacher must have an emotional balance and resilience. She must be a continuous learner, open-mindedness to new ideas. And of course, with this technology coming in, she has to be tech savvy, ready to learn, the willingness to change, adapt, and innovate, the ability to take up challenges, and also be a problem solver. Mr. Shori, I'll tell you one more thing. When we recruit a new teacher, we spend almost a week hand-holding her, because all of us have resonated this expression that teachers must be looked after. They have to be comfortable. And I definitely agree with this. If the teacher is comfortable, then you can be rest assured that the teacher will always give her best. And this is my experience. And I'm very, very proud of the fact that all our teachers have always walked the extra mile. And I think it all comes from the management and from the leadership team. Yeah. And then it percolates downwards.
Absolutely.
It's all of that, you know. And I think it is critical that we need to look after this. I keep reiterating, we are responsible for our teachers.
Right.
Ajinkya, would you like to add anything yours, Sudha, anyone?
That was
Yeah, I just want to add that I think that the teachers, where knowledge is concerned, they are able to give it. And, so if you talk and what Vagesh once called as ask, that you talk about knowledge, attitudes, and skills. So knowledge is something that teachers are able to impart without much difficulty. But it is the attitude and the skills along with that knowledge that definitely requires training. And it is not possible. Some of us maybe just inborn as teachers. I feel a lot of us are born as teachers. So it innately comes and therefore you are able to do it. But most of us have to inculcate it. So for inculcating that, they have to find out that what are the ways and means. Again, I'm not talking from Jyoti ma'am's view because obviously she's in Mumbai. I'm talking from the view of Kullu, where where the teachers have probably studied here and have grown up here and have become teachers here. So their environment also has not changed. So for them, they need somebody who will bring out that environment from the outside and tell them what more to do and how to do it. So, and to also give them the confidence that go ahead and do it. If you do it well, the credit is yours. If something goes wrong, well, I'm there to handle it. So for that, it's very important, I think, to have some external professional development also.
Sudha, I'll just pitch in here. What is important as leaders, all of you, we must understand that as schools and as leaders, we need to facilitate this process. Yes. We have to provide opportunities to the teachers. We have, like I said, we have to invest in the professional and personal development of teachers. And that is the key factor if you really want to see a paradigm shift in education. It's all about teachers and how we are going to professionally develop them.
I completely agree with what Jyoti ma'am is saying, because there was time when we were having all our teacher trainings from outside, and over the time internal team grew up as trainers, and now I'm happy to state that out of 100 plus trainings we take every year, 80 trainings are done in-house. So that is something which can be looked as an outcome when you invest upon.
Yes. Ajinkya, you're absolutely correct. Last year, our teachers would have attended at least 175 workshops and seminars and in-house training. It's an investment we have made because we know the dividend will even double.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
So that's
the confidence. Yes. The confidence it gives in to them, that's the real fruit actually. Yes.
And that's why I'm here today.
That's fantastic to hear. As an investment, there's a very, very interesting terms. So very quickly, if we can, I know this discussion can go on for a few hours, but there is another interesting topic where Vagesh, I can see that he is getting anxious to ask that question. The element of parents in this entire teaching learning ecosystem. So Vagesh, over to you.
So I see this as a kind of a silver line. Generally, parents thought that their responsibility is to take their students to the schools and collect them from the schools. This pandemic has changed that. Major shift has been brought about in the role of parents. And now parents are teachers and teachers are kind of learning consultants. So with an increased need of interaction between parents and teachers is always a kind of a required thing. How do two fraternities, that is parents and teachers, communicate and collaborate with each other effectively? Sudha, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so very well said. And actually, I think this was a wonderful thing that happened, because finally the parents did realize what the teachers went through when they were teaching 40 children in a classroom. And I think most of them, yes, they had their criticisms, but most of them were very appreciative, and they were able to actually walk into a classroom and deeply see what is being done by a school. So they started appreciating and understanding that हम तो सोचते थे आप लोग कुछ करते नहीं हो, लेकिन हमें तो अब दिख रहा है कि ये तो टीचर्स तो बहुत काम करते हैं. So that was there. And other than that, it is very important, that we should keep addressing their very minor concerns, because for me, at large, as a principal, I'll have so many students, and also as a teacher, I would have so many. But for the parent, it is that one child, or it is those two children. So for them, their world is those children. So whenever they come up with even a slightest concern, we just need to deal with it. And most of the time, it only helps by just listening to them. Even if you listen to them and then tell them, okay, we'll get back to you. And then you get back to them and tell them. And even if you disagree with what they say, they don't kind of retaliate or disagree, because today parents are a confused lot with a lot of things happening, poor things with their own jobs, some of them losing their jobs, and all of them working from home, and the pressure from home and no house help. It did become very, very tough for them. So we just need to stand by them, give a ear to them, listen to them, and don't feel that they are criticizing us, but just feel that they are telling us something. We need to listen and then explain to them. For example, I'll just give you a very quick example that when I started during the pandemic, we just had 2 classes, online classes a day. And then the parents, after 2-3 days, some of them started calling me up and telling me, मैम फ्लान स्कूल तो सुबह से शाम तक क्लास करता है, आप तो सिर्फ 2 ही क्लास कर रहे हो, इसमें कैसे होगा? And when I gave them the reasons why I was doing 2 classes, that some of you have 2 children, you do not have enough gadgets, as was mentioned by Ajinka, that there aren't enough gadgets with you people, and the timing, the children do not have so much time to stay, etc., whatever were my reasons. They started accepting it. And at the end of 6 months, they told us that our children have progressed much more than they ever progressed in the school. So I think it's a very easy task. You just need to listen. That's all.
Yes. Yeah, Ajinkya, then I'll say.
Yeah, in fact, what Sudha ma'am said, my views completely resonate with her. In fact, I would, share an experience over here that after a few months of online schooling, when we were interacting with parents, so few parents stood up and they said, आपकी टीचर कितना करती है सिर्फ एक concept समझाने के लिए. I mean, they were surprised that, and she was managing all 40 students, and they realized it's not an easy task, and they started appreciating. I mean, that was a viewpoint change, very essential, because initially when all of us were for online schools, at the same time parents were reluctant. I mean, आपको तो करना इसलिए आप कर रहे हो, but then over time they realize that it's not something as a compliance, but teachers are actually taking Herculean efforts to ensure that learning goes on. And what another point that I would like to share, that with our chain of schools, what we did ahead and one step going further is we started interacting with parents. So every class teacher at lower levels, pre-primary, lower levels, was talking to parents fortnightly to identify what was their concern. She was sharing with them her observations. At high school level, we ensured that this happened monthly.
Yes.
Then, over time, we also realized, because we were executing 1,200 live periods every day for 20,000 kids. So at that volume, we realized that though technology has exceeded far enough, but still the quantum or volume of work which has increased upon a teacher as an individual, because she has to respond the same thing for 40 kids. So volume was multiplied by 40. So there is still a long way to go technologically, where we can ease a teacher's day in a school. So that is what we still long for, and I hope sometime down the line technology would help us in that aspect as well. But yes, as Sudha ma'am said, now parents do realize how much efforts we take.
Yes. So both, I think Sudha and Ajinkya have really clearly stated that open door policy of interaction with parents. And that's a wonderful system, you see, because like Sudha mentioned, parents, if they have concern, they can only ask us. They can't ask anyone else. So I think the open door policy and allowing the parents to speak to us reduces a lot of pressure on the parents, and so also reduces the pressure on the teachers, you see, as long as they don't interject the classes.
Yeah.
You see, so there, of course, we'll have to, we provide the home rule.
Yeah.
Home rules, so that, you know, and giving them the opportunity, okay, ye Google Meet hai, this is the code, please meet us if you have any concerns. So like what Ajinkya said, that we also had a lot of meetings with the parents, especially the initial stages when we started the online. They were saying, oh, 40 students, kam nahi ho sakta hai, 20 hona chahiye. But we were able to convey our thoughts explicitly to the parents, and then they started trusting us. And yes, there are so many testimonials from parents to support the teachers and their work. So I think this, and I think there should be a connect among the parents, students, and teachers. That will go a long way.
Right. Shauri?
So this again, this topic would require honestly another couple of hours or so, but we are actually overshooting on the time. So Vagish ji, what should we do? There are some very interesting questions asked by participants.
There are quite many questions. I request if the panelists allow, we can extend it for 10 more minutes, not more than that. And so that will allow us to entertain some of the questions that very perceptive listeners have asked, and then we can continue. Is that okay?
Yes,
Sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. So we go straight away on the question answer sessions. And so the first question is, what students report missing the most include one-to-one interaction with the teachers to resolve their doubts, and 2, collaborative studies with peers. How are the schools and teachers managing to support students on these?
Vagishi, can you just repeat the question? Because I couldn't.
So let me just repeat it. So the question is, what students report missing the most? There are two things. Number one is one-to-one interaction with teachers to resolve their doubts. It's kind of a personalized mentoring that. And the second is, of course, the collaborative studies or peer-to-peer learning. These are the two things which students are missing from this online interaction. So how schools and teachers are managing to support students on these parameters?
Yeah. So
where collaborative learning was concerned, the students were often given tasks where they had to collaborate amongst themselves. They were divided into various groups, and they had to collaborate and bring out the project or the task, or even they presented lessons by collaborating themselves and presenting a task. So they got the opportunity to do that. There were a lot of book reading clubs in which they participated and gave their opinions. And so that was dealing one part. I think the other part, Jyoti ma'am will tell.
yeah, it was not difficult. It is not difficult as well. See, because, you know, the breakout rooms is a very good opportunity for teacher-student interaction. And I said earlier, you know, the teacher-student connect is very, very critical. So we have a dedicated period called life skill program. Right. So we have our AYM team, that is our counselors and also our special educators, along with the teachers. We have a one-to-one chat with the students. You know, I'll give you an example. There's a student in the school who refuses to switch on his camera. And the moment the teacher asks a question, he'll switch off the camera. Now, obviously, when you are on a platform, everybody is watching, and the teacher is restricted. She cannot correct him at that time. So what does the teacher do? The teacher, after the class, calls him, gives him a code, meet code, and say, look, let's chat. And let's understand, why are you not switching on the camera? And the child feels so comfortable because it's a one-to-one connect, you see. And the child feels so important. Oh, today my teacher is asking me this question. I think next time I should not keep the cameras off. And mind you, the same child has stopped keeping the cameras off now. So it all depends on the teacher. The teacher plays such a vital role. And you can find various opportunities to create this, platform for teacher-student connect. And more importantly, what I encourage as, I always tell my teachers and the principals is allow this peer-to-peer connect. So after the school, we have a program called Fun with Friends. So after the class, we have about 5 students, right from pre-primary up to secondary. After school, we give them about the teachers there, and she gets about 5 students. And they socially interact. The pre-primary, they start showing their paintings, they start singing songs, and the teacher says, let's all dance. So they all start dancing. See, this kind of opportunities, if we provide, you will find that the children will enjoy learning, and even post lockdown they will be looking forward to coming to physical school as well.
So essentially, yeah.
Rinda, please.
So tools are available. So ultimately, it's, as Jyoti ma'am is saying, it all boils down to the teacher. And if you want to promote collaboration, you want to promote peer-to-peer connect, you want to promote one-to-one interaction, tools are available. And as Ajinkya ji also mentioned, that this blended model is going to stay even if the pandemic gets,
we have to be flexible, Arindam.
We have to be flexible, right?
We have to be just
Arindam, what I would like to add as an answer to sub point number 2 in the first question itself, I can share what we are doing. We see, on Google Class online school is a boom to some extent if you are ready to collaborate with international schools, because teachers don't need to travel, your student don't need to travel. So when at the same time when your teacher is making breakout rooms within the class of 40, you would get schools nationally and internationally, we have done that, who are ready to collaborate with you.
Correct, right.
And make breakout rooms within 2 international schools and give kids some projects. We had done that with our school in places like Yavatmal, Akola and Amravati, and believe me, students prepare so wonderful presentation as an activity that something that was supposed to be taught by teacher in the classroom, they end up learning on their own and coming up with queries to teachers. So maybe relating to another concept, what we call flipped classroom. But then for online school, collaborative learning is something which is very easy, which was otherwise very difficult. I believe everyone would agree in a physical school.
No, I think that's fantastic, because we also do a lot of these activity, we call co-curricular activities virtually today. We have conducted so many with the mock United Nations, whatever. But the list is endless. So I don't think I should share. No, it's just being flexible and have a growth mindset, you'll be able to do anything.
So as Arindam said, it's not yet best practices, but next practices. And I'm sure there are a lot of such success stories we can look at. I'll take one more question. I think then we'll really have to limit it here. So although we have discussed it in detail, maybe the question here is on, can the experts highlight some key areas that need to be factored in designing teacher training for continuous professional development? I know we stressed upon various aspects. It would be good if we can reiterate or do a little bit of deep dive to answer this question. Some key areas that need to be factored in designing teacher training for continuous professional development.
So the similar kind of a question is also there, is that training teacher to develop new skills means they have to step out of their comfort zones. How
True.
should school leaders expedite? So what are those key areas where the professional development has to be geared?
If you're talking about skills, it also, you're talking about the attributes of a teacher. Those are the kind of skills. We're talking about personal skills. Okay, we're talking about soft skills. So you could have a training program for that. Then we have on a leadership. Then you could have something on if you want to engage an engaged classroom. You could have a resource person talking about how drama can be integrated in a classroom situation. So there are many such programs, many such seminars that are available, and it's only a matter of choosing the best that is suitable for you. And it's always the need of the hour that prompts you to choose the correct program. And that's what we do at AVM. Like I said earlier, we have a TAL session, that is tech aided learning, and we give a lot of importance to that, because that is we have almost 2 days dedicated to that particular program.
Right.
And yes, and then we have also even in-house teachers also can share their learning pedagogies, you see. So we call it the in-service training. You could do that as well. And if I'm looking at skill development, I always believe that we should focus a lot on personal development, nurturing the mental well-being of a teacher, how confident she can be while teaching in her online, platform and things like that. I mean, there are endless programs.
Very true. Very true. I think we'll have to now, what we can do is some of the questions, very, very interesting. Vagish ji, we can actually take expert opinion, your opinion, and we can respond to the people who have asked these questions after the seminar. We will definitely do that. It also adds to the community of practice and the conversation that we had today. So just before we conclude, I would request Arindam, if you have some, your thoughts, concluding remarks, whatever comes to your mind.
Yeah, thank you, Sure. I think it's been fascinating to hear from such esteemed leaders from across the country. And what I heard and what I take back from here is positivity, right? The pandemic, despite the difficulties of the pandemic, the teachers, frontline warriors, they rose to the occasion. They made the most of that pandemic situation, completely developed new tools, pedagogies, adapted themselves, adopted newer methods, and did not allow learning to stop. So that's one positive message I take. And the second thing, which Ajinkya ji also mentioned, that whatever, even if the situation changes, this blended mode of learning is going to stay. And it is probably going to stay for good, because again, based on what Ajinkya ji was mentioning, that technology enables collaboration beyond the school. He was talking of international schools coming in, collaboration among students, across groups, across segments, that enables learning, right? So peer-to-peer connect is possible, provided we are open and we are willing to chart that path. The third point, which I wanted to ask as a question, but of course, Jyoti ma'am answered through various practices that they adopt in the AVM, the teachers training and the QET and others, is that in this given situation with changing circumstances, etc., when it comes to the professional development of teachers, do we envisage the need of a toolkit of sorts for teachers, kind of a handy toolkit as to, to engage with the students through this online or this blended mode? So that is something one may actually ponder over. And so I think that's it. So most of it, and Sudha ma'am also talked of how parents also, tried to be, the empathy, I would rather say. The pandemic made us more empathetic. The parents also tried to understand and understood the pains of a teacher, collaborated, and this also paves the way, as my daughter's school principal keeps telling, and she keeps sending messages to us that this is a great opportunity for partnership between students, between parents and the teaching community. And so long as we take it in the positive spirit and we contribute, it would only be good for the learning continuity as well. So these are, I think, the critical points. I wouldn't say that this is the end of it. This is just the beginning. And as we mentioned at the beginning of this session, that our endeavor is to create a community of practice, because this is an uncharted territory. This hasn't happened ever in the history of mankind. This is happening for the first time. We make the most of it and just see how best we can actually convert this crisis into a golden opportunity. So that's the spirit that I take from this, and I would look forward to the support from the community on a continuous basis, so that even we at Schoolnet, so that we can improve and strengthen our offerings, be it Genio, be it the age-old Kian, be it any other services that we do. So this is all that I can say here. Shori.
Thanks, Arindam. So I would now request Vagish ji, if you want to augment what Arindam has said, and also to deliver the vote of thanks.
Yes, so I would have liked to have some more discussions with the esteemed panel, but I just want to say that what I hear from all of them talking about, and what I hear from the world leaders who are talking about the education, is that the process becomes very important. Suddenly, the process of education has come into the focus, and only goal-oriented things which are generally judged by the high-stake examinations are not going to be enough. Jyoti ma'am talked about re-evaluating the assessment, and Ajinkya and Sudha ma'am talked about how the engagement, attention, and interaction with the students are important. Now they are important otherwise also. But then the issue is that why we were not able to take a look at that is a question that many of them are asking. And they are also asking that to be complacent about it, that to say that, okay, blended learning is a broad term, but how that blended learning becomes effective in a particular kind of a situation. We all know about differentiated learning, but how that differentiated learning takes place. We all know about the individual, the personalized learning. All these are cliches, but once it comes into the practice, then how are you going to spell it out? And there, the important part is that you don't fall into a complacence, and you remain alert and keep on looking at the newer kind of things that are coming. That is only good for the education to happen in the long run. Thank you so much, all the panelists. I extend my heartiest thanks to all of you. You have made it such a enriching kind of an experience. I thank all my participants who have been there for more than the committed 1 hour. It is about 1 hour and 15 minutes now. I also wish to thank my back-end team, Nitin, Ridhima, Swati, Shraddha, all of them who have been there to make this webinar a worthwhile thing. And not to miss Shauri and Arindam, whose guidance has made it such a enriching and great experience for us. Thank you so much. We would like to create a kind of a community of practice, as Shauri said. If you allow, we would create a group, and where we will share these questions that have remained unanswered. If you would like to engage with some of these questions, that would be excellent.
I was going to offer that.
Yeah, sure.
Or anytime.
That's
We'd
wonderful.
love to share.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we could do that.
Thank you, Arindam.
Do
Thank
that.
you, Sudha ma'am.
Thank you.
It was nice to
Nice
meet
day.
you, Jyotikumar.
Nice meeting
Same
all
here.
of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay
Thank
safe,
you.
stay healthy.
Thank you.